The apex predators left her with 10 rounds and a knife. It was their fatal mistake. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood in heavy chains inside the great stone hall of the Kazathari Dominion. The air smelled of hot metal and old blood. High above her, the council of 8-foot reptilian hunters sat on thrones carved from black bone. Their scales shone green and gold under bright lights. Their yellow eyes stared down without blinking. Mara felt small next to them, but she kept her back straight and her face calm. The Huntmaster rose from the center throne. He was bigger than the others. His armor carried many deep scars from past hunts. A long tail swept behind him as he walked forward. He stopped a few steps from Mara and looked at her like she was a strange insect. "You fought well for a soft skin," he said in a deep, rough voice. "But your kind always breaks when the real hunt begins. The council has decided your fate. We will not kill you quickly. That would bring no honor, nothing." She watched his mouth move and noted the sharp teeth inside. The Huntmaster lifted one clawed hand toward the side wall. A large door opened. Guards pushed Mara forward. They led her down a wide tunnel lit by glowing red stones. The tunnel ended at an open platform. High winds blew across it. Below stretched the Vorak Proving Grounds, a huge wild land full of dangers. The ground looked red, like dried blood. Tall plants with sharp edges grew everywhere. Thick fog moved in slow waves. Dangerous animals roared in the distance. The Huntmaster stepped onto the platform behind her. He carried a small metal box. He opened it. Inside lay an old revolver made of steel, and a single combat knife with a black blade. Both weapons looked ancient and simple compared to the bright energy weapons the Kazathari used. "This is the praise boon," he said. 10 rounds for the gun, 1 knife for close work. We give you these because the old laws demand it. You will have a chance to run and fight. The hunt, more fun for the watchers. He took the revolver and showed it to her. The cylinder held 10 brass bullets. He snapped it shut and handed the gun to her. Next, he gave her the knife. She felt its weight. It was balanced well. The edge looked sharp enough to cut light. Mara checked the gun. She opened the cylinder again, counted the rounds, closed it, and put it in the pocket of her torn undersuit. She slid the knife into her belt sheath. Guards had taken her armor and boots earlier. She stood barefoot in the cold wind, wearing only the thin gray cloth that once went under her combat gear. The Huntmaster smiled, showing all his teeth. "You think these toys will save you? Many have tried before you. All of them died screaming. We have 6 of our best hunters ready. They carry energy lances, cloaking fields, and trackers. They will follow your scent through the preserve. The whole Dominion watches on the neural feed. Billions wait to see how fast you fall." Smelled like burnt oil. "Remember this, soft skin. We give you mercy. Not because we fear you, but because your weakness makes our victory sweeter." Mara met his eyes. She spoke for the first time since they captured her on the border world. "Thank you for the mercy." The Huntmaster laughed, loud and sharp. The sound echoed across the platform. He turned to the guards. "Take her down." Strong hands grabbed Mara's arms. They pulled her to the edge of the platform. A ramp led down to the red sand below. They pushed her forward. She walked down without looking back. The chains fell away at the bottom with a loud clank. She rubbed her wrists and stepped onto the proving grounds. Behind her the horn sounded long and low. It told the hunters the prey was loose. It told the watchers the game had started. Mara did not run. She walked forward at a steady pace. She looked at the ground and saw tracks of many animals. Some were big with wide claws. Others were small and fast. She felt the wind on her face. It came from the left, carrying the smell of wet plants and something sour like poison. She turned her body so the wind blew against her side. That way her scent would not travel straight to the hunters. She moved into the first line of tall grass. The blades were hard and sharp. They cut small lines on her legs and arms. She ignored the pain. She had felt worse during training on Earth. She kept her steps light and quiet. She listened for any sound that did not belong. High above, drone cameras followed her. Every move she made went out to the billions watching. Some cheered for the hunters. Some placed bets on how many minutes she would last. Most laughed at the tiny human with her old gun and knife. Mara reached a small rise. She crouched low behind a rock and looked back. The platform was far now, but she could still see the huntmaster standing there, watching. She raised one hand in a small wave. Then she turned and disappeared into the grass. High on a ridge, he stood 8 feet tall. His energy lamps glowed blue. He saw the human moving slow and careful. He laughed to himself. This would be easy. He jumped down from the ridge. His cloak shimmered as he ran forward. His claws dug into the ground with each step. Mara heard the soft hiss of his cloak turning off. She did not look back. She kept walking, but slower now. She counted steps in her head. She felt the weight of the gun in her pocket. She waited. The hunter closed fast. He raised his lance to strike from above. He wanted to end it with one clean thrust for the cameras. Mara stopped. She turned. She pulled the revolver out in one smooth motion. She aimed not at his chest, but at the bright optic cluster above his eyes. She fired once. The sound was loud and sharp in the quiet land. The bullet hit true. The hunter's head snapped back. His lance fell from his hand. He dropped to his knees, then fell forward into the dirt. Mara walked to the body. Hunter. His scales still shone, but the light in his eyes was gone. She took his energy lance. She pulled the power cell free and tucked it into her belt. She dragged the body toward a nearby bog. The water there smelled bad and thick. She pushed the corpse in until it sank below the surface. The scent would hide for a while. She stood again and looked at the sky. She knew the cameras still watched. She spoke quiet, but clear enough for the sound pickups to catch. 1 down, 9 rounds left. She checked the gun again. She wiped a small spot of green blood from the barrel. Then she turned and walked deeper into the proving grounds. The wind picked up. It carried new smells now, smells of more hunters coming closer. Mara smiled a small, tight smile. She had time, she had patience, she had 10 rounds and a knife. The Kazathari had made their first mistake. They thought mercy would make the hunt fair. The apex predators left her with 10 rounds and a knife. It was their fatal mistake. Mara Voss moved deeper into the Vorak proving grounds after the first hunter fell. She kept her pace steady, not fast, not slow. She knew the watchers expected her to panic and run in circles like scared prey. Instead, she walked with purpose. She studied the land as she went. The red sand under her bare feet felt hot and rough. Tall grass with razor edges swayed in the wind. She stayed low, using the plants to hide her shape. The air carried many smells: wet dirt, sharp plants, rotting leaves, and now something new. A faint metallic scent mixed with warm scales. That was hunter smell. She turned her head slightly to catch the direction. Wind came from the northwest, so the scent drifted from the southeast. Good. She had guessed right. She found a narrow path between 2 low hills. The ground here was softer, with patches of black mud. She stepped carefully, avoiding the deepest spots. She crouched behind a path, thick clump of thorn bushes, and waited. She listened. The proving grounds were never quiet. Small creatures chirped and scurried. Overhead, flying lizards called in high voices. Far away, a big predator roared once, then went silent. Minutes passed. She stayed still as stone. Her breathing stayed slow and even. She counted her heartbeats to keep time. She knew the hunters would spread out now. They would use their cloaking fields to move unseen. They would try to circle her and close the trap from all sides. That was their way. The Kazathari loved perfect hunts with no escape. She saw the first sign. A single blade of grass bent the wrong way, then snapped back too fast. Wind did not do that. She shifted her grip on the revolver. She kept it low, close to her leg. She did not raise it yet. Raising it too soon would give her position away. She waited more. Another sign came. Dust rose in a thin line about 30 steps to her right. The dust hung longer than it should, as if something heavy moved through it and pushed air aside. She turned her body slowly to face that direction. She still did not stand. She let her eyes scan the empty space. She looked for heat shimmer or light bend where the cloak failed just a little. Human eyes caught those tiny flaws better than most machines. There, a faint ripple in the air, like heat rising from hot sand, but higher up. It moved closer. The hunter was careful. He did not rush like the first one. This one stalked, slow and patient. He thought he had the advantage. He thought the prey could not see him. Mara smiled inside. She had spent years training to spot the unseeable. She had hunted in dark forests on Earth, where enemies wore the best camouflage. She knew patience beats speed every time. The ripple stopped 10 steps away. The hunter decloaked to strike. He wanted the cameras to see the clean kill. He raised his energy lance high. The blue tip glowed bright. He leaped forward with powerful legs. His mouth opened in a silent roar meant for them. Mara rolled to the side. She came up on one knee. She lifted the revolver in both hands. She aimed at the spot where his optic cluster sat above his broad snout. She squeezed the trigger once. The bang echoed sharp across the hills. The bullet flew true. It punched through the clear scale over his left eye and deep into the brain. The hunter jerked once. His lance dropped from dead fingers. He crashed face first into the dirt, kicking up red dust. Mara stood. She walked to the body without hurry. She checked for movement. Nothing. She knelt and pulled the energy lance free. She twisted the power cell out and tucked it next to the first one in her belt. She looked at the hunter's face. His yellow eyes stared blank now. Green blood pooled under his head. She dragged the body toward the nearest bog. The mud smelled sour and thick. She pushed until the corpse sank below the surface. Bubbles rose for a moment, then stopped. She wiped her hands on her undersuit. The green stains looked dark against the gray cloth. She checked the revolver again. 8 rounds left in the cylinder, plus the 2 spares in her pocket. She had not used the knife yet. She hoped she would not need it soon. Knives meant close work, and close work meant risk. High above, the drone cameras zoomed in. The watchers saw everything. Billions of Kazathari stared at their feeds. Some hissed in surprise. Others laughed and said it was luck. The huntmaster on his throne growled low. He spoke to the council. This soft skin got lucky once. It changes nothing. Our hunters learn fast. The next one will not make the same mistake. Mara heard none of that. She only felt the wind shift again. More sense came now. 3 distinct trails spread wide. One from the north, one from the east, one from the south. They moved careful and slow. They learned from the first 2 deaths. They would not decloak until the last second. She needed to move. She could not stay in one spot too long. Staying still invited a trap. A handful of red sand, and rubbed it on her arms and legs. It dulled her skin shine and helped her blend. She broke small branches from the thorn bushes and tucked them into her hair and belt. More camouflage. She walked toward the thick fog bank in the west. The fog looked gray and heavy. It carried the smell of acid and wet stone. She liked fog. It hid heat. It muffled sound. It gave her cover. She stepped into the edge of it. The air turned cold and wet. It clung to her skin like damp cloth. She shivered once, then ignored it. Inside the fog, she moved slower. She felt the ground with her toes before each step. Sharp rocks hid under the mist. She did not want a cut foot now. She kept the revolver ready in her right hand, knife in her left. She listened hard. A soft click came from her left. A weapon powering up. She dropped flat. The energy bolt hissed over her head and struck a bush behind her. The bush burst into blue flame. She rolled right. She came up running low. She darted between thick fog wisps. She made herself small and hard to track. The hunter followed. He decloaked to see better. His scales glistened wet in the mist. He swung his lance in wide arcs, searching. He thought she ran scared. He thought panic made her sloppy. Mara stopped behind a tall rock pillar. She pressed her back to the cold stone. She slowed her breathing. She waited for him to come closer. She heard his heavy steps splashing through shallow puddles. He appeared through the fog 10 steps away. He turned his head left and right. His nostrils flared. He sniffed for her scent. The fog made it hard even for him. Mara stepped out. She raised the revolver. She aimed at his throat, where scales met softer flesh. She fired once. The bullet hit clean. The hunter gurgled and dropped his lance. He fell to his knees, clutching his neck. Green blood sprayed between his fingers. She walked forward. She kicked the lance away. She watched until his eyes dimmed. She took his cloak generator. It was small and light. She clipped it to her belt. She left the body where it lay. The fog would hide it for a while. 7 rounds left. She had spent 3 so far. She felt the weight of each one. She knew they were finite. She had to make them count. She moved deeper into the fog. She found a small cave under an overhang. She crawled inside. She sat with her back against the wall. She closed her eyes for a moment. She listened to the proving grounds breathe. She heard distant roars and the hum of drone cameras far above. She opened her eyes. She looked at the revolver in her lap. She spoke quiet to herself. 3 down, 7 left. They still think this is a game. She stood. She tucked the gun away. She stepped back into the mist. She had more hunters to find. She had more lessons to teach. The Kazathari had given her 10 rounds and a knife. They thought it was mercy. They thought it made the hunt fair. They began to understand. Their mistake grew bigger with every step she took. The apex predators left her with 10 rounds and a knife. It was their fatal mistake. Mara Voss left the fog bank behind her as the sun climbed higher. The proving grounds grew hotter. Red sand burned under her bare feet. She ignored it. She had walked on worse. She kept moving west toward rougher land, where rocks rose like broken teeth. She needed cover. She needed places to hide and strike. 3 hunters remained. She felt their presence like pressure in the air. They moved smarter now. They no longer rushed in alone. They spread wide. They talked through hidden comms. She could not hear their words, but she saw the signs. Small flashes of light when they signaled. Dust clouds that appeared and vanished too quick for wind. She climbed a low ridge. She lay flat on her belly. She looked down into a wide valley. The valley held tall crystal spires that caught the light and threw it back in sharp colors. The ground between them looked smooth and hard, like glass, conducted sound and energy well. She had seen similar rocks on other worlds. She filed that away for later use. She spotted the first sign of the next hunter, a shimmer near the base of the biggest spire. The cloak held strong, but heat from the day made tiny waves in the air. She watched the shimmer move slow along the edge of the crystals. It stopped. It waited. It thought she would come down the ridge, straight into the open. Mara did not. She slid back down the other side. She circled wide. She kept rocks between her and the valley. She moved quiet. She used every shadow. She reached a narrow crack in the stone. She squeezed inside. The crack smelled dry and dusty. She waited until her eyes adjusted to the dark. From her hiding spot, she saw the hunter again. He decloaked for a moment to check his tracker. The device glowed green on his wrist. He frowned. He looked around. He could not find her heat sign. The sand had cooled her feet. The crystals threw off false readings. He growled low. Cloaked again. Mara waited more. She counted slow breaths. She let him grow restless. He started to move toward the ridge where he last saw her trail. He walked careful, but faster now. He wanted to end this quick. The watchers grew bored. Long hunts lost viewers. She slipped out of the crack. She followed behind him far enough to stay unseen. She matched his steps, so her footfalls blended with his. She pulled the stolen cloak generator from her belt. She activated it. The field shimmered around her. It felt strange, like cool water on her skin. She moved faster now. She closed the gap. The hunter reached the top of the ridge. He stopped. He scanned the ground. He saw her old footprints leading down. He started to follow them. Mara came up behind him silent. She raised the revolver. She aimed low. She fired once. The bullet struck his knee joint, where armor met scale. The joint shattered. He roared and fell sideways. His cloak failed. He hit the ground hard. His energy lance skidded. He rolled over fast. He swung a clawed hand at her. She ducked. She stepped in close. She fired again. The second bullet punched through the soft spot under his jaw. He gurgled once. His eyes rolled back. He lay still. Mara breathed hard. She checked the cylinder. 5 rounds left. She picked up his lance. She took the power cell. She found a small acid sprayer on his belt. She tested it. A thin green mist shot out and hissed on the rock. She smiled. She tucked it away. She dragged the body down the ridge. She left it in plain sight. She wanted the others to see. She wanted them angry. She wanted them to make mistakes. High above, the drone cameras zoomed close. The watchers hissed loud. The huntmaster slammed a fist on his throne arm. 2 more gone. This softskin uses our own tools against us. He turned to the council. We tighten the net. No more solo kills. We use the envelopment pattern. Now. Mara felt the change in the air. The remaining 2 hunters moved closer together. They flanked her from north and south. They pushed her toward the center of the valley. She let them. She walked into the open ground between the crystals. She made herself look tired. She let her shoulders slump. She let her steps drag. She wanted them to think she weakened. The hunters closed in. They decloaked at the same time. 1 on her left, 1 on her right. They raised their lances. The blue tips glowed bright. They advanced slow. They savored the moment. They spoke loud for the feed. This ends here, pray. Your luck runs dry. Mara stood still. She held the revolver loose in her hand. She looked from one to the other. She spoke calm. You think 2 is enough? The left hunter laughed. He lunged first, his lance thrust straight for her chest. Mara sidestepped. She rolled the acid sprayer from her belt. She pressed the trigger. A cloud of green mist burst toward him. It hit his face shield. The acid ate through fast. He screamed. He dropped the lance. He clawed at his eyes. Charged. He swung wide to catch her, while she dealt with his partner. Mara dropped low. She fired once at his leading leg. The bullet cracked the knee armor. He stumbled, but kept coming. He roared and raised the lance high. She rolled under his swing. She came up behind him. She pulled the knife. She drove it hard into the gap at the base of his neck. The blade sank deep. He froze. He fell forward face down. The first hunter still screamed. He rolled on the ground. His scales bubbled where acid touched. He tried to stand. Mara walked to him. She raised the revolver. She fired once into his chest. The screaming stopped. 4 down, 6 rounds spent, 4 left. She wiped the knife on his armor. She sheathed it. She looked at the sky. She knew the cameras caught every second. She spoke clear. You sent 6. You thought 6 would be plenty. You thought 10 rounds would never last. She gathered what she could. She took another cloak generator. She took a sonic disruptor from the second hunter. Tested it. A low hum filled the air when she powered it on. She turned it off. She clipped it to her belt. She walked away from the bodies. She headed toward thicker cover. A forest of blackthorn trees grew at the valley edge. The trees had long spikes that dripped sticky sap. She liked that. The sap would mask scent. She rubbed some on her arms and legs. It smelled strong and bitter. She entered the trees. She moved careful. The spikes cut small lines on her skin. She ignored them. She found a spot under a low branch. She sat. She rested for the first time. She drank water from a small leaf cup she made earlier. She ate a few bitter berries she knew were safe. She needed strength. The huntmaster watched the feed. His tail lashed back and forth. "Only I remain," he said to the empty hall. He stood. He activated his armor. The plates shifted. They grew thicker. Biomech augments hummed under his scales. He took his personal lance. It glowed brighter than the others. He stepped onto the platform. Looked down at the proving grounds. "Soft skin," he whispered. "You have earned a true hunt. Now face me." Mara felt the change. The air grew heavier. She stood. She checked her weapons. 4 rounds, knife, acid sprayer, sonic disruptor, 2 power cells, cloak generator. She had more now than when she started. She walked deeper into the thorn forest. She prepared for the last fight. She knew he would come soon. He would not wait. He had pride to save. She found a clearing inside the trees. Sunlight came through in thin beams. She stood in the center. She waited. She listened. She heard heavy steps far off. They came closer fast. The huntmaster appeared at the edge of the clearing. His armor shone. His eyes burned yellow. He raised his lance. He spoke loud. "This mercy ends now. I will take your head for the Dominion." Mara looked at him. She raised the revolver. She smiled small. "Come take it then." The apex predators left her with 10 rounds and a knife. It was their fatal mistake. Mara Voss stood in the small clearing inside the blackthorn forest. The huntmaster charged straight at her. His heavy feet shook the ground. His armor plates clicked and shifted with each step. His lance burned bright blue in his massive claw. He roared loud enough to make leaves fall from the trees. He moved faster than any hunter before him. His biomech augments hummed with power. Muscles under scales bulged bigger than normal. Mara did not run. She stepped to the side at the last second. His lance stabbed empty air and buried deep in the dirt. He pulled it free with a grunt. He spun to face her again. His yellow eyes locked on her small form. He laughed deep and rough. "You stand still like a fool, soft skin. Your fear freezes you." She said nothing. She watched his feet. She noted how the left leg dragged just a tiny bit from old wounds. She saw the way his tail swept low for balance. Pattern in seconds. He lunged again. This time, he swung the lance in a wide arc, meant to cut her in half. Mara dropped flat. The blue tip hissed over her head. She rolled forward. She came up between his legs. She pulled the sonic disruptor from her belt. She pressed the trigger close to his knee joint. The low hum turned into a sharp pulse. The sound wave hit his armor and cracked the plate. His leg buckled. He roared in pain. He swung down with his free claw. Mara rolled away. She felt the wind from his strike. She stood quick. She fired the revolver once. The bullet struck the cracked knee again. The joint sparked and locked. He stumbled forward. He caught himself on one hand. His lance dropped from numb fingers. She backed up slow. She kept distance. She watched him struggle to rise. He pushed up. His augments whined loud, trying to fix the damage. He grabbed the lance. He used it like a crutch. He stood tall again. Blood trickled from under the broken plate. Green and thick. "Stops me," he growled. "I have hunted bigger prey. I have broken stronger foes. You are nothing, a soft, weak thing with toys." Mara raised the revolver. She aimed careful. She fired again. The bullet hit his shoulder joint. The armor dented but held. He snarled and charged once more. Slower now, but still dangerous. She sidestepped. She let him pass. She turned and followed. She stayed close behind him. She used his size against him. He could not turn fast enough with the damaged leg. She fired low again. The third bullet struck his other ankle. The joint popped. He fell to one knee. He roared and swung the lance backward. Mara ducked. She felt the heat from the tip. She rolled under his arm. She came up on his blind side. She pulled the knife. She slashed quick across the cables that ran from his neck to his shoulder. Sparks flew. The arm went limp. A lance clattered to the ground. He spun with his good arm. He caught her across the chest. The blow sent her flying. She hit a thorn tree hard. Spikes cut deep into her back. She gasped, but did not cry out. She rolled to her feet. Blood ran down her side. She tasted copper in her mouth. The Huntmaster laughed again. "You bleed now, soft skin. Your end comes fast." He limped forward. He reached for her with his one good claw. His jaws opened wide. He wanted to bite her head clean off. Mara wiped blood from her lip. She raised the revolver. 2 rounds left. She aimed at his open mouth. She fired once. The bullet punched through the roof of his mouth and out the top of his skull. He froze. His eyes went wide, then dull. He fell forward like a cut tree. The ground shook when he hit. Mara stood over him. She breathed hard. Her chest hurt. Her back burned from the thorns. She looked down at the massive body. The greatest hunter of the Kazathori Dominion lay dead at her feet. His scales still shone, but no life moved inside them. She knelt. She placed the revolver on his chest. The cylinder stood open, empty now. She kept the knife in her hand, wiped green blood from the blade. She sheathed it slow. She looked up at the sky. Drone cameras hovered close. Their lenses glowed red. They caught every second. Billions watched in silence across the Dominion worlds. No cheers came. No laughter. Only quiet shock. Mara spoke clear and calm for the feed. "You gave me 10 rounds. You gave me a knife. You called it mercy. You thought it made your hunt fair. You thought a human with so little could never win." She stood straight. Blood dripped from her cuts onto the red sand. She looked straight into the nearest camera. "You forgot the first rule of any hunt. The predator decides how many bullets are enough. The prey never gets to choose." She turned. She walked away from the body. She moved through the thorn trees slow. Her steps stayed steady, even with pain. She left the clearing behind. She headed toward the thick fog at the far edge of the forest. The fog looked heavy and gray. It would hide her from sensors for a while. The Huntmaster lay still. His lance went dark. The power cells died with him. The proving grounds grew quiet. No more roars, no more heavy steps. Only wind through the black thorns and the soft buzz of drones far above. Mara reached the fog. She stepped inside. The cold, wet air wrapped around her. She shivered once, then kept walking. She did not look back. She knew the feed still followed, but she did not care. She had 4 power cells now. 3 cloak generators, 2 lances, 1 sonic disruptor, 1 acid sprayer, and the knife, still sharp, still useful. She carried more than when she started. She carried proof. High above in the stone hall, the council sat frozen. The screens showed the empty clearing, the dead Huntmaster, the small human walking into mist. One elder spoke low. "It is over. 6 of our best, gone. A single softskin did this." Another hissed, "We must end the broadcast. The Dominion cannot see this shame." The Huntmaster's throne stood empty now. No one moved to fill it. Neural feed flickered. The picture cut to static. Black screens spread across billions of homes. Worlds went silent. Mara kept moving through the fog. She found a small stream. The water tasted bitter but clean. She drank deep. She washed the blood from her face and arms. She sat on a flat rock. She rested. She closed her eyes for a moment. She listened to the proving grounds. The animals returned to their normal sounds. The danger had passed for them. She opened her eyes. She looked at her hands. They shook a little from pain and tiredness. She clenched them tight. She stood again. She would not stay weak. She would keep going. She walked deeper into the unknown parts of the preserve, places even the Kazathari rarely went. She found old ruins, half buried in sand, towers of strange metal twisted by time. She explored careful. She found shelter in a broken wall. She made a small camp. She used scavenged cloth to bind her wounds. She ate what berries and roots she knew. She slept light with a knife in her hand. Days passed. She healed slow. She grew stronger each day. She watched the sky sometimes. She saw no more drones. They had stopped following, or maybe they could not find her anymore. She smiled to herself sometimes. She thought about the 10 rounds, the knife, the mercy. They gave her so little. They thought it would make her helpless. They never asked what a human could do when pushed, when cornered, when given no choice but to win. She stood one morning. She looked out over the wild land. The proving grounds stretched far. No walls, no guards anymore. She could walk forever if she wanted. She took one last look at the direction of the great hall. She raised her hand in a small wave. "Goodbye," she said, quiet. She turned. She walked into the rising sun. She disappeared into the vast red wild. The apex predators lost their greatest hunt. They lost their pride. They lost everything to one human with 10 rounds and a knife. And that mistake would echo through the stars for a long time. The apex predators left her with 10 rounds and a knife. It was their fatal mistake. Mara Voss walked deeper into the wild parts of the Vorok proving grounds after the Huntmaster fell. The red sand stretched far under a sky turning orange with evening light. She moved slow because her body hurt. Cuts from thorns and claws still bled a little. Bruises covered her arms and chest. She felt every step in her bones. But she kept going forward. She would not stop now. She found a narrow canyon between tall rock walls. The walls rose high and blocked most of the wind. Inside, the air felt cooler and still. Small pools of water gathered in hollows. She knelt at one pool. She cupped water in her hands. She drank slow. The water tasted clean, with a faint mineral bite. She washed her face. The cool touch helped clear her mind. She sat with her back against smooth stone. She pulled out the knife. She looked at the black blade. It still held its edge well. She ran her thumb along it. Careful. Line of blood appeared. She smiled small. That edge had saved her more than once. She wiped the blade clean on her torn undersuit. She sheathed it again. High above, no drones followed anymore. The Kazathari had pulled them back after the last hunter died. The neural feed went dark across their worlds. Billions of watchers sat in stunned quiet. No one spoke much. No one laughed. No one placed new bets. The Dominion felt something new, something they had not felt in centuries. Shame. Mara knew none of that. She only knew she lived. She knew 6 elite hunters lay dead because of her. She knew the great Huntmaster joined them. She knew the mercy they offered turned into their worst nightmare. She stood. She climbed out of the canyon. She reached higher ground. From there she saw the edge of the preserve. Far away, a shimmer marked the force field wall that kept prey and predators inside. She walked toward it. She did not hurry. She had time now. Night fell. The stars came out bright and cold. She kept moving. She used the cloak generator when she needed to hide from night hunters. Big shapes moved in the dark. She heard their heavy breaths and low growls. She stayed low. She stayed quiet. She passed them unseen. She reached the force field at dawn. The wall glowed faint blue. It hummed soft, like a sleeping machine. She touched it with one finger. Sparks jumped. Her skin tingled, but she did not pull back. She studied the field. She saw small panels set into the ground every few steps. Control nodes. She smiled. She had seen similar tech before. She knelt at the nearest panel. She used the knife to pry it open. Wires and circuits glowed inside. She pulled a power cell from her belt, one of the ones she took from dead hunters. She connected the cell with careful twists. Sparks flew again. The field flickered in that section. It dimmed, then died. A hole opened big enough for her to step through. She walked out. She left the proving grounds behind her. She stepped onto free land. No hunters, no mercy games. The air smelled different, cleaner, less like blood and fear. She kept walking. She found a dirt road soon after. The road looked old and cracked. Plants grew between the stones. She followed it. She did not know where it led. She did not care. She walked because moving kept her alive. Hours passed. The sun climbed high. She saw smoke in the distance, thin gray lines rising from hidden fires. She moved toward it, careful. She stayed in cover. She used rocks and dry bushes to hide. She got close enough to see. A small camp sat in a shallow bowl. 3 figures moved around the fire. 2 looked human. 1 looked like a mix of scales and skin, a scavenger maybe. Mara stepped out into open ground. She raised empty hands. She spoke loud but calm. I come in peace. I need water and rest, if you will share. The humans turned fast. They raised old rifles. The scaled one hissed and pulled a blade. Mara stood still. She let them see her wounds, her torn clothes, her tired eyes. One human lowered his rifle first. A woman with short gray hair. She stepped forward. Who are you? How did you get out of the preserve? Mara answered, simple. My name is Mara Voss. I was the prey in their hunt. I killed their 6 hunters. I killed their huntmaster. I walked out. The 3 looked at each other. The woman laughed once, short and sharp. You beat the Kazathari apex hunt. Alone. With what? Mara pulled the empty revolver from her pocket. She held it up. 10 rounds and a knife. That was all they gave me. The scaled one stepped closer. He looked at the gun. He looked at her face. He nodded slow. The stories will spread fast. Human, you have done what none of us could. They led her into the camp. They gave her water. They gave her food, dried meat and hard bread. She ate slow. She felt strength return bit by bit. The woman with gray hair sat next to her. My name is Lena. We are free traders. We come close to the preserve to salvage what we can. We never thought we would find a survivor. Mara nodded. I did not think I would survive either, but here I am. The scaled one spoke. His voice rasped low. The Dominion will hunt you now. They will want revenge. They will send more than 6 next time. Mara looked at him. I know, but they will find me harder to catch now. I have their weapons. I have their tech. And I have something they never understood. Lena leaned forward. What is that? Mara met her eyes. Persistence. Humans do not give up when the odds look bad. We keep going. We learn. We adapt. They gave me 10 rounds because they thought that was enough to make it sporting. They never asked how many a human really needs, or how long we can run, or how deep our anger goes when you try to break us. The camp grew quiet. The fire crackled soft. The scaled one nodded again. You will be a legend among the free worlds. They will sing songs about the soft-skin who ended the apex hunt. Mara smiled tired. I do not want songs. I want to go home. I want to tell my people what happened. I want them to know we are not prey. Lena stood. She offered her hand. Come with us. We have a ship hidden not far. We can take you off this rock. We can get you to Terran space. Mara took the hand. She stood. She felt taller somehow, stronger. She looked back once at the distant shimmer of the preserve. She whispered, "Thanks for the mercy." They walked together toward the hidden ship. Mara carried the knife at her belt. The empty revolver stayed in her pocket as a reminder. She left the proving grounds behind, but the story stayed with her. It would spread. It would grow. It would light fires in human hearts across the stars. The Xathari Dominion changed after that day. Their hunts grew fewer. Their pride cracked. Their council argued long into nights. They spoke of the soft skin who turned mercy into death. They spoke of the fatal mistake they made when they gave her 10 rounds and a knife. And somewhere on a small ship heading toward human space, Mara Voss sat, quiet. She looked out at the stars. She touched the knife handle. She remembered every shot, every cut, every step. She knew the galaxy had shifted because of her, because one human refused to die the way they wanted. She closed her eyes. She rested. She dreamed of home. The apex predators learned too late. Humans were never prey. They were the hunters who waited patient, who struck when the time came right, who turned every gift into a weapon. And that lesson would last longer than any hunt.